Here's your host, Tom Dirato.
Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. Champions, Southern Division champions of the Big 12, winners of 7 in a row, 9 of the last 10. Cowboys are going to be the number 2 seed in next week's conference tournament. If this is a dream, Eddie, now don't wake me, please.
Well, it's been a Cinderella season for sure because we were picked quite low in the preseason selection by the media and even by the coaches. But our guys have really pulled together, and they're playing very good basketball right now. And we are 21-4. We're 11-4 in conference play, and as you mentioned, we're right behind Kansas, and we'll be the 2nd seed next week in Kansas City in the Big 12 tourney.
I know you preached this to your club ever since the final horn went off against Texas. You know, it would be easy to sit back and say, hey, the season's over, so to speak, mentally. It's just beginning in a lot of respects.
Well, this is when you want your team to be on a roll, and last week we won 2 big ball games by beating K-State 64-61 in Manhattan, and then came home to play the Longhorns, who had really beaten us. And the fact the last time we lost a ball game was in Austin, and we beat them 80-58. So 2 big wins. But when you get ready for tournament play, this is what it's all about. You know, you play all season long, and this is my 8th year at Oklahoma State, and this will be the 6th team that we'll be taking to the NCAA. We'd like to win the Big 12 because that's the only way you're guaranteed you're going to go to the NCAA, the tournament champion. But I think we've compiled enough victories, and our record is such that we'll get an at-large bid. Well,
highlights from yet another exciting week. Now's the time to set your VCRs. We're back after this short timeout.
At Johnson.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I work in the ticket office at Gallagher-Iba Arena. You're watching the Eddie Sutton Show. Now back to Coach Sutton and Tom.
Well, thank you very much, and I know she's been very busy these last couple of days, and certainly will be busy on Sunday. Now, Eddie, the Cowboys close out the conference season with 3 straight road wins, 4 victories in the last 5 Big 12 games away from home, and ended up with 5 league road wins overall, the first time that's been done since 1965.
Well, the Big 8 was always tough to win on the road, and the Big 12 is equally tough. And our guys, you know, we won down at Texas Tech last week in overtime, and I think a lot of people thought if we could go to Texas Tech and K-State and just split, well, you win the first one, then you get greedy and want to win the second, which we did. And K-State played excellent defense, and this was really kind of what you might call an ugly type game in that the defense was sound at both ends. Both ball clubs ended up shooting. They shot 43% and we shot 37%. One of the things that allowed us to win was the fact that we shot 41% from beyond the arc, hitting 9 out of 22. And we only turned the ball over 8 times. And we hit free throws down the stretch when we need to, 15 out of 16 for the game. But they did a great job on Brett Rovich, number 31. They held him down to what he had been doing. I think he ended up with 10 points. But Peterson had a great game, scoring 26. And Joe Atkins hit some big trays, and he had 14.
You know, Pete, we've talked about him so many times. He does all those little things in a game that I know you coaches really appreciate to help you win.
Well, Adrian has become a complete basketball player. He's always been a scorer in his freshman sophomore year, but he's become an excellent rebounder, much better defender. His passing has gotten better. It's a great pass by Gottlieb, and he's one guy that's really helped this ball club win. He had 9 assists and only 2 turnovers. He's done an excellent job in running the ball club, but going back to Pete, he's, I think, one of the outstanding guards we have in the Big 12.
You know, Weber came off the bench in both this game and against Texas and gave some quality minutes when we needed him.
Well, we've been waiting on Alex to step forward. Brian Montanani's kind of helped us here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's upped his game. And, you know, Alex, I think it's still affecting him a little bit, Tom, the fact that he went through surgery last summer, and even though he's healed up, I just don't think he's quite as aggressive, but he did show signs of being the way he was a year ago in both these ball games, and he helped us against the Wildcats and against the Longhorns.
As poorly as we shot in the first half at Manhattan, only down by 2 in intermission, that had to make you feel pretty good when you went back in there and talked to the kids.
Well, I told the club at halftime, I said, you know, we really haven't played very well. And if we just got to hit a few shots, we're going to win this ball game if you continue to do the things that you've done in the first 20 minutes. And we were able to do that. We hit one spurt there in the second half where Peterson and Atkins hit some big three-point shots.
You're about to see some of those come raining down, a la Texas.
Well, that was the way Texas in the first game hit us when they hit 7 trays right in a row, and I think we hit 4 or 5 during this stretch in the second half.
We like them when they go down for us. We don't like them when other teams do that. We may mention this on the radio broadcast. You might get into this a little bit. I thought you and your coaches, especially yourself, I mean, when things were really getting tense down the stretch, you did a pretty good job of keeping the kids loose when they came over to the sideline in the last couple of minutes.
Well, there was about 2 minutes ago when they came over, and we were going to run a special play for Robish and scoring play, and I looked over at Adrian, and he kind of dropped his head, and I said, "Pete, you want us to run the play for you? We'll run it for you." And it just broke up the squad and kind of loosened them up. And you know, I've coached a long time and had some great ball clubs, great players. But this team's been a lot of fun because they have surpassed what everybody had projected they could do. And it, as I mentioned earlier, it's really been a Cinderella season. Great group of young men, and they're very coachable, and they work hard. I think that's the reason why we've gotten a lot better. Hitting
free throws, as you mentioned before, you're going to see one of the great plays away from the basketball coming up when Mason dies up with 18 seconds to go. Obviously, we got a little ways to go here, but what a turnaround that was.
Well, a lot of times things like that don't show up in the scorebook, and this is a great defensive play, and it'll be upcoming here in just a minute, where he stepped in and Dyes had the ball down deep and looked like he was going to score, and he led their ball club in this game with 21 points. Very good inside player, and he had caught the ball really deeper than you want anyone to catch the ball, and probably could have scored over Robish, but Desmond came back in and tied him up, and it was on alternate possessions we got the ball.
Talk about Mason. He just came up with a big offensive rebound there, as you saw, and we're going to get a good look at what Mace does here to get us back here, get the ball back for us here pretty soon. Cowboys are holding on down the stretch. Kansas State wouldn't wilt. They kept coming.
The only 2 teams to beat K-State this year on their home floor, the University of Kansas, and of course our beating them. I think they ended up 12-2. There's the play right there. Look at Desmond. Boy, I tell you what, he gets excited. I like that enthusiasm.
He got excited, especially when he saw the possession arrow pointing our way. Watch this. He looks over, then he sees it, and he knows right now we got the basketball back, but we still got some business to take care of here.
Well, they have to foul in this situation, and like we said earlier, we hit 15 out of 16 free throws, and this is Adrian Peterson going the line, and he missed the only free throw of the night, 6 out of 7, but he hit these 2 when it really counts. Boy, you miss a free throw late in the game like this, and it can be damaging.
How about the defense right here now in the game's final seconds?
Well, we defended they tried to set up a play, and they really never got into it, and they ended up just throwing up a prayer, and that's the ball game. We win the game 64-61. You'd have thought we'd have won the championship right there, but the guys knew that by winning this game, we were going back home, and Doug Gottlieb's got his hand around him and says, "It's not bad, Coach, is it, for a team that's picked last in the preseason?" I mean, he kind of keeps the squad a little loose at times, too.
Oh, that's good. Then it was home again against Texas with a chance now to wrap up the Southern Division crown, and the Cowboys came through.
Well, there's Clack, who I think is one of the outstanding players we have in the Big 12, and he led their ball club in scoring with 18, but defense was the name of this game. We forced them into 23 miscues and really smothered their perimeter game. There's a nice play by Gottlieb. He ran through the pass, and they called goaltending on the play.
We got out of the gate a little slow offensively, but how many times since you've been here have we talked about defense getting you back into it in a hurry?
Well, in this particular game, I thought our team played defense like some of those outstanding ball clubs we had in the early years when I came to Oklahoma State. They just really stifled Texas. They had hit us, with 13 trays in Austin out of 22 shots. In this ball game, they only got up 20, but they only hit 4. And Axtell, who had just really wounded us down in Texas, he only got 5 shots up and only hit 1 of them. Joe Atkins did a great job on him.
The crowd was great as usual, sensing the Cowboys could sew it up here with a win.
Well, it was important to, keep the momentum going, and knowing that you're not going to win the league, but you can win your division and get that second seeding, which is important. And also, by winning, it continues to increase your chances of getting a lower seed in the NCAA tournament.
Mason's had some great games since he's been at Oklahoma State, but when you look at a complete game, I'm not so sure it was any better than it was against Texas.
Well, you score 27 points and pull down 14 rebounds and do a great job defensively. You can't say much more about that. I thought it was probably one of his 2 or 3 best games since he's been here.
I told you before we went out there that because we had him on the pregame show for the radio side, and I could tell you he was really juiced for this one, maybe because of what happened in Austin, maybe the fact that he is from Texas and knows these players. Whatever the reason, he was ready.
It was a great game for him to have against Texas because he does know a lot of these players, but it was also a game where his family was here. Many times his family isn't able to get here, but they were here. Boy, you talk about some proud people.
The Cowboys, again, are just magnificent defensively in the first half. You're going to see, maybe expectedly, but I don't know, perhaps unexpectedly, the Cowboys are going to have a nice sizable lead at halftime.
That's one of the great passes we've seen this year. Pete ran the lane, and Doug made a great bounce pass to him, and Pete got the easy layup. Brett hit double figures for I don't know how many times. He had 9 rebounds and 11 points, but he's almost had another double-double. There's Brian Montanati hitting about a 12-foot shot. Peterson had 18 points, so he had a great week. Doug Gottlieb, I think, hit double figures for the first time. He had 11 points, 8 assists, only 1 turnover. So good balanced scoring. But the real name of this game was defense and defensive board play. We didn't give up too many second opportunities. They only had 10 offensive rebounds, and we out-rebounded 43-35.
There's your lead, 40-25 at halftime. And, you know, we keep beating this drum, but it is so obvious, I think, to most of us who are around. This team has developed over the last 3 weeks a tournament-type toughness, and that's good.
For a young basketball team, they really are mentally tough. We've won a lot of games on the road, and last year we had a hard time winning away from Gallagher-Iba, and that's why I've been impressed. Those sophomores have really come of age when you look at Atkins and Mason and Gottlieb, and of course Pete's a junior, and he's gotten better and better. And Robish and Alexander, our 2 seniors, have done a great job for us. There's Alex Weber hitting a little turnaround jump shot, and he had a couple of free throws in this game. So
it's almost impossible when you've won 7 out of 9 games that have been decided by 5 points or less to kind of pinpoint this or that, which is the most important. But I bet when we look back at the end of this year, we're going to look at 2 games on the road that perhaps turn the toughness around. The game at TCU, obviously, early on, and in my opinion, going to Iowa State and playing well and pulling it out of Hilton Coliseum.
Well, it's always tough to play up in Ames. They don't have as good a ball club as they've had the last couple of years, but they have a great home court advantage. And I agree with you. Those were big wins. I guess the low point of the season when we lost in double overtime down in Waco, and we lost Nebraska on our floor. And at that point we were 2-3 in conference play. So the team really just has gotten better and better and better. And we're going to have to be real good Saturday or Sunday morning, I should say, when we host Kansas in the last game of the regular season.
Well, we had our own brand of March Madness here this past week in Stillwater. We're going to take one more look at that big wrap-up victory over Texas when the Eddie Sutton Show continues in a moment. Well, by now you know the Cowboys put on a clinic this past week when they ripped Texas, won their 11th conference game, 21st on the season. If you weren't one of the lucky ones in Gallagher-Iba Arena, here's what you missed.
The Cowboys have won it 80-58, and the Cowboys are the Southern Division champions.
Hey! How about those Cowboys? It's all due to my hard work, and Sutton had nothing to do with it.
Fans were incredible night, the best the fans have been all year. We're glad that we won the Big 12 South, and we just got carried in the tournament.
And who would have thought, Phil, this team was picked dead last by some people in the Big 12 Southern Division, certainly nothing better than the middle of the pack, has come off the deck and really hit stride when they needed the most. Now have won 7 in a row, 9 of the last 10, and are now Southern Division champions.
Everybody said we couldn't win the South, then we went out and proved everybody wrong. But you're now the champions of the South. That's how. And you earned a ring tonight.
Yeah.
You can beat Kansas.
Great piece.
You know what? They get better each time. You just keep winning. We can come up with these ideas if you
They're
will.
a lot easier when you win.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with these pieces when we don't have all these victories to deal with. Okay, number 4, Kansas is in town, as we said, on Sunday morning. We'll preview that matchup. Take a look at the notebook. That's all still ahead when we return to the Eddie Sutton Show.
Hi, this is Kit McCarty, and welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. Take it away, Tom.
Well, thanks, Kit. Let's take a look at the notebook now, Eddie, as we have 3 items, as we usually do. All conference selections. I know you cannot vote for your own players in this particular situation, but in your opinion, who's had all conference seasons?
Well, there's some people throughout the league that certainly are good selections. I kind of know who will make the first 5 all-conference, but we really have 4 players that could get some consideration. What you're afraid of is that they'll split the vote and maybe none of them will make it. But you look at Brett, you look at Pete, you look at Desmond, you look at Joe. Those guys have all had great seasons. And Gallagher hadn't scored, but he's been a wonderful point guard for us.
We mentioned next week, tournament time in Kansas City. Always an exciting time. Always a lot of conjecture and complaints about whether it should be in Kansas City, whether they should move it out. What's your feeling?
Well, Kansas City's done a marvelous job with the tournament, and it's going to be there for 2 more years after this one. Then, they may move it to Texas or somewhere else. Oklahoma City's getting a new arena. We'd like to see it come to Oklahoma, but you can't say enough good things about Kansas City. They've done a great job with the tourney, the Big 8, now the Big 12.
It seems up till now we've had perfect timing. This is when you want to be on a roll, and the Cowboys are playing the best basketball of the year.
Well, like I said earlier in the show, you play all season in hopes you get in the NCAA tournament. There's only 64 teams get to vie for the national championship, and we're going to be there. I don't think that we're going to be one of the favorites, but we're playing one of the favorites when we meet Kansas Sunday morning. The Jayhawks, in my opinion, are one of the 4 or 5 teams that do have a great shot at winning the national title in San Antonio the latter part of March. We've had some great battles with Kansas. Golly, we've had some great games with them. And, of course, we're going to have to play over our heads. But this ball club believes that they can win. We got Gallagher-Iba, we got the home crowd, so we'll have a shot at them.
And these are 2 programs with great basketball tradition.
Well, Fog Island and Mr. Iba used to hook it up. And, of course, there's no one in the country I have more respect for than Roy Williams and what he's done with their program. But it's senior day also, and it's going to be the last time that all of us will be together. So there'll be some tears shed. But Brett Robish, Tommy Warner, Chad Alexander will bow out their collegiate careers as far as home games are concerned.
Well, remember, tip-off time Sunday morning at 11:30. 11:30, so you be on hand. You won't want to miss this one. Oklahoma State, number 4, Kansas. For Eddie Sutton and our entire crew here at Educational Television Services, Tom Dirato. Goodbye, everybody.